Evening, folks, and Dale. Listen, Dale, if you want to go to your bed, go to your bloody bed. I mean, can you not watch? You can go to your bed. You must have a phone. Watch me on the phone. I mean, seriously, come on. You can get to bed and watch this. No excuse. I don't know. Anyway, good evening. Evening, everybody. All 7 people. You're along, obviously, for your weekly dose of vintage TV. Sorry, Colin. I don't know if you're being trying to be comedic. Yeah, we're going to be watching 2 episodes of the computer program. Are you asking? Is that what this is going to be about tonight? C64 demos, or are you hoping that the computer program is going to be about C64 demos? If so, you're going to be disappointed because I can't see any C64 demos appearing in this. But anyway, right, listen, it's getting on a wee bit. The reason it's so late tonight is, what was I going to say? Yeah, I was at Cook Soul, had my karate tonight. That finishes at 8 o'clock. By the time I got back, had something to eat, and then I took the dogs out for probably the shortest walk ever. So anyway, right, listen, yeah, thanks for tuning in. Let me just get right on with this. How is everyone? Hope you're all well. Weather-wise, it's shite. It was really, really nice. It was really warm actually yesterday, and it's kind of just back to what it was again. So let's share this. So this is the computer program number. There's only going to be 2 tonight. Computer program. Evening, Kenny. How are you, mate? Yeah. Kenny went over on his ankle. He had just taken delivery of a new works van, and were you getting out? I think Kenny, and you went over on your ankle. But as luck would have it, the van that they were going to give him, they didn't have. And so they had to get another one, which turned out to be a higher spec. And it actually looks really, really nice. So well done. Right, anyway, yeah, let's batter on with this. This is the computer program, Series 1, Episode 4.
We seem to do a great deal of filling in of forms these days. Whenever you apply for anything, particularly anything official, from a rate rebate to a car license...
Stay at that bloody desk. That's like Dale's living room.
And you can see from the way many of them are laid out that they're not really meant for people at all. They're meant for computers. And it seems that every day we need to store more and more information about more and more things. And it's not stored on paper anymore. It's on the computer.
Yeah, I can't get enough of that bit of music. So is the theme tune to Micro Live, was that Kraftwerk as well? I never knew that was Kraftwerk. Evening, Neil. Evening, Rodian.
Houston now controlling. Mission control confirms roll maneuver started.
The launch was perfect as the Columbia completed the pitch-over maneuver and arced out across the Atlantic. The next move, 2 minutes 7 seconds in and 27 miles up, was the separation of the solid rocket distance.
Hello, Matt. How are you, buddy?
If you wanted to build yourself a space shuttle, or perhaps put solar heating in your house, this is where you'd start, probably, in a book. And how about this beauty? It's the fattest book I've ever seen. And this is just reports on computer applications in medical care, just for 1980.
I love the fact that these early programs were always very, very smart looking.
It's known in computer jargon.
Shirt and ties.
It's been around for thousands of years, but now it's running into trouble. These books are not the sort of light reading you'd want to take away with you on holiday. For example, we've got here the Soviet Technical Physics Letter, and you can see, imagine, Dear Ivan, I want to talk to you about the effect of an external electric field on the velocity of a surface acoustic wave in a lithium niobate single crystal. Or even more exciting.
I think you can see it's going to be twice as thick for
Goodbye
trying to understand women, Kenny. Yeah.
This is a comparative intellectual treatise on the flush privy versus the composting toilet. Perhaps it would be useful in the Himalayas. We're in the science section of the British Library with 85,000 books. But this is only part of it. This is one of 7 such buildings around London. This library alone subscribes to 25,000 different journals and periodicals, weekly, quarterly,
Periodicals,
monthly.
what the hell
So
were they?
This information
Is that
is
Reader's
growing at an
Digest,
incredible
possibly?
rate. That leaves us with 2 problems. First of all, what are we going to do with all this paper? And secondly, how to find that idea buried in all this paper that make me into a millionaire.
I love the fact that he's having to
Let's
talk
go
in
back a little bit.
hush
What is
tones.
writing all about? Well, it's putting ideas or words into symbols. Now, it just so happens that I have here with me a page from the Egyptian Book of the Dead. And these are patterns representing ideas or words. For example, very simply, the wriggly lines are representing water.
Yeah, you're probably right,
This
Ox.
represents
Yeah.
purity, a newly hatched chick. So what can we do to reduce the size of all this data? Well, one way is to put it onto a computer. And to do that, we have to convert the words, the characters, and the numbers into patterns that the computer itself can
Interesting to know if
To
they
the
could
ancient
actually
Egyptians,
store all these
these
books on a single SD
hieroglyphic
card.
symbols did
Probably
very
could.
well as a way of representing their ideas in permanent and storable form. And we have our own equivalent in the form of the letters of the alphabet and the signs we use for numbers. They all work because our eyes are very good at recognizing shapes and patterns. But a machine needs something much, much simpler, like a punched card, for example. All the machine has to do here
Smart
is
arse,
use
Dale.
its little metal finger to track across each column and see if there's a hole or not, and if there is, where it is. You don't need modern electronic machines to do it. In fact, it's a system which has been in use for a long time, Matt. I didn't realise
Chris
how
Settle's
long.
still alive.
You don't see a lot of
Seen
these
him for
around.
a
It's an
long
old
time.
40-column card reader, a card sorter. It's a nice piece of antique. But the principle's the same as was used in the old census done in 1890 by the Americans. And it just, each of these columns...
Well, I recently bought
stores one
What did I
character,
buy?
either
I
an
bought a
alphabetical character, A, B, C, or a
512
number.
gig
And you can
SD
set
card.
up on
Mental.
this, one column at a time to sort them out into order.
What sort of job could it do?
Well, for example, if this was a census card and column 15, the age of the child was punched in between 0 and 9. I don't suppose they put many in 0. We set this up to the appropriate column. We put the cards in. We press the button. And here we have on pocket 9 all the children who are now.
How can you say that's bloody clever?
The
I
real
mean,
secret
it's
is you
cards,
take
isn't
all
it?
these
It's mental.
cards again, take them out, and then reuse them again for another analysis you wanted to do.
So it's hardly surprising that this machine has been superseded, because I suppose what you really want is the information contained in the holes in the cardboard, rather than having to shuffle all
Obviously,
the bits
Commodore
of
64
cardboard around,
fans
and
with
that's where
the
computers come in,
beige
I
and
guess.
Well,
the
that's
brown
exactly right.
corduroy.
If you look at the
and,
way it's stored on a card,
thingy
you
jackets.
just snip off a column of information here, and you can see quite clearly the problem. There is one character.
And that's the equivalent. And in fact, you don't. The computer doesn't just see if one space has got a hole or no hole in it. It's checking for all of them, and there are many permutations, aren't there?
Well, all possible combinations. In 8 bits, it's called a byte, by 8, a byte, and in those 8 there are 250.
I wonder how long Mac was actually into computers, because he is very knowledgeable.
For
to be fair.
example, all the alphabetics, upper and lower case, numbers 0 to 9, all the special symbols, plus, minus, left bracket, and so on and so forth.
And that's all stored in the famous revolution, the microchip, isn't it? And it's all done in a very, very small space. What is that? What's the process inside there?
Well, I like to think of it as a sort of series of pots, and some are full of electricity, and if you like, they're in 8, and some are full of electricity, some are empty. And you can read out and detect out of those 8 which is full and which are empty. And from that you know what the combination is and what character it represents to the computer.
So, given that the information can be stored, we can sort it out in any way we choose. We can display it, we can count it, and we can scan it, looking for any particular item we want at fantastic speed. Now, Mac has been to see how the British Library's computer index works.
The good old-fashioned telephone.
And the first thing to do is to connect the library's terminal through the telephone to any one of a number of large computer databases. In this case, in another part of London.
He's got quite a chin, hasn't he?
The
Bloody hell.
application of microcomputers or computers in the home. Where do you think we should start? Computers?
Okay, we'll try computers first of all.
Everybody was so damn posh and well-spoken. I mean, this is the 80s.
It takes no time at all for the computer to
mental
search
how-
through its entire database.
How much
But if
TV
you're
has
not careful,
evolved
you
in
can
the last
easily end
sort
up
of
with a lot
30
more
years.
than you bargained for. Oh, that's a problem. 48,880 references on computers. Well, that's far too many for me to read. Let's cut that down. I'm really interested in microcomputers rather than general computers. Let's see if that cuts it down at all.
Let's try the word microcomputer then.
So to cut down the numbers, you can ask it to search again and again, matching on different words.
An apricot, possibly?
7,559. We're going to thin that down. I'm not going to read 7,559 references. What about home? Let's try home.
Yes, we'll try... What we can do is try to select those with home where it occurs in the title. And that's how we do that.
I love
Well, that's more
the
likely
green
to give us a
green
manageable
text
number.
and black background.
A smaller set now, 46.
We're down to 46. That looks more reasonable. Can we look at what they're about? We'll get
Yes.
some titles out anyway and see what we've got.
I'm asking the computer to type out the
That is
first
one
5,
clicky keyboard.
just as a sample.
Now we've matched on personal computers with the word home in the title.
Yeah, for young
Phonics
people,
in
they would
the
watch
home,
this and
that's
think, seriously, what is this shit you're watching? You know what I
And here
mean?
are
But I
several
love stuff like
references.
this.
Home
It's
computers.
just,
That's
it is
okay.
of its time.
No
and
pet peeves,
even though I never had a
that is.
computer
And the
back then when this
professor
was on,
rests at
I
home.
couldn't get enough of this kind
Adapting
of
a home
stuff.
computer for data acquisition. Well, can we have a look at a bit more detail of the of electronics in the home?
Yes, we
I
can
haven't
print
got
out
a
the first
clue what you're
one.
on about. White
When you
belt to
finally
brown
narrowed
belt.
it down, it
Dale
doesn't
Bolton
just
bollocks
give you
as
the number
always.
of books, but an abstract of the content of the book itself. The author shows how the expanding thrust of electronics is likely to penetrate and influence our home environment of the 1980s. The home of the future is likely to become a centre for incoming and outgoing electronic signals, which will be used by members of the family to meet their particular needs. Well, out of all those thousands of books, we managed to find the journal that was in.
And you got
There
it very
is.
quickly, too. But why, for a job like that, do you have to use your computer to talk to another computer? Why not have all the information in a box like that?
If you take a book like this has approximately 400 words on a page.
Right.
And so if you look at the screen of this television, on you'd need 3 screens like this to be the same as one page. So that's quite small. The 32,000 characters in here is about 12 pages in this book. So when you start talking
Jesus.
about books...
When they
that
could write elite in
32,000
12 pages
seems
a book,
relatively
that is
small.
mental.
And that's obviously why you have to extend your storage capacity by using tapes or floppy disks, that kind of system.
Yes, the table,
Penetrating
this
floppy.
small floppy, that would handle
Hard
about, at
disks.
its maximum packing, its maximum amount it could store, would handle about a whole volume, the characters in a whole volume.
And this is about twice the diameter.
Yes, it's about double the amount of characters. That would hold about 1.2 million characters as a maximum.
Right. And for really big storage jobs, I suppose you need those really big hard disk memory banks, is that right?
Well, this one isn't one of the
hard
biggest.
disk.
It's a sort of medium-sized machine, and this disc will hold about 80 of those novels, or the characters out of
That's
80
not just
of those
one
novels.
disk, is it? There's
Jesus.
several.
Now, there are 5 discs here. and
That's
the
like
heads
something
going
in
between to
Doctor
read
Who.
the data, which is
That actually looks like my
And we can
robot
load it
Hoover
on the
thing.
machine, quite simply like this, bang bang.
An early Blu-ray player, no doubt.
Oh, and there's the magnetic surface. In fact, it looks like magnetic tape, sort of laid out in the form of a flat gramophone record, almost.
Well, it's exactly the same principle, of course, but it's obviously much faster.
Chocolate
to access
brown,
it.
eh?
It's like a gramophone record. You can pick an individual item of data out on it.
Right. Mind your thumb. And again, the bigger the machine, the bigger the storage capacity.
Yes, this particular machine, although not a very big mainframe machine, it has in fact got 1 million bytes of storage as opposed to the 32,000 that this little micro has. But the breakthrough is going to come with, I think, this, which is the video disc. And this will store...
Calm down, Dale. Calm down, son.
On this one disc that you'd need 3,000 books to store. And another way of putting it, for example, with cassette tape, it would require enough cassette tape to stretch from London to Chicago, and it would take 4 years to read that cassette tape.
The capacity to store the equivalent of 3,000 books is like the size of an encyclopedia.
Well, you'd actually get the whole of the Encyclopedia Britannica on this disc.
Well, let's just peep into the future for a moment.
Blimey.
And we've got a little program lined up here, which could be the encyclopedia of the future. If I type in Space Shuttle. And there's your page of information.
It's mental to think that just about 20 years ago, before the internet, Encarta, Microsoft Encarta was it was the future.
Could do in the future.
Internet on a
Not only
disc.
do you have pages of written information, but if you typed in the word picture, and this is what you get. And make it move by doing that. But uses like that for the video disc are still a long way in the future. Because the computer can store and manipulate such vast amounts of information, we're only
Give them, Mr.
now
Commodore.
beginning to discover
Well, I
ways
should
to
call
use
you
it.
MC, actually,
You'll never
yeah.
reports.
School dinners. Or not.
Thank you very much. When you're ill in hospital, you need good, wholesome food, and it's important that you have a choice. A system of menu cards has helped in many hospitals, where you mark the card
Posh
with the
bird.
food you want. But you still have to order up to 24 hours in advance, and by then you mightn't be feeling so good, or you might have even been discharged. And that's meant a
Yes.
wastage of up to 20% of the food in some hospitals. Now, I ordered my lunch this morning, and this omelette was cooked in the kitchens just 6 minutes ago. The process has, of course, been computerised.
Of course, the
She's
computer
a
has
squeak
nothing to
fella,
do with the
isn't she?
actual cooking, but it greatly speeds up the counting of the dishes on the 500 menu cards. The patients benefit, and so do the chefs,
At what
who now
point
know
did
the
the
precise
BBC
quantities to
stop
be
being
cooked.
posh? I didn't realise they were
Computer the
posh
catering team
back in
chose
when
can be
this came
bought
out,
in any
whenever it
high
was.
street computer shop, and it's small enough to fit on an office desk.
For the operator, the system couldn't be easier to use.
Oh, the old Commodore pet.
Getting the information into the computer is also easy. An optical card reader scans each card and detects the mark that the patient has made opposite his choice.
But the computer can do more than just gather information about the number of dishes and meals. It can help the catering manager plan and cost the menus. Or, if it's given the exact recipe of each dish, even down to the last pinch of salt, it will print out the shopping list the chef needs to take to the
That's
stores.
a hell of a bloody bowl of chicken soup, that.
Dish recipe code. So let's have an MC012, which happens to be the beef goulash.
What's more, if the computer's programmed with the price of each commodity, it can combine that with the shopping list and tell the catering manager the total cost of the day's meals, or the cost per patient, or indeed the total cost of any of the ingredients used in the kitchen that week.
And on the printer, out comes an analysis of how much that dish is going to cost.
The day-to-day running of the catering office is also greatly assisted by the computer. It's available to any of the staff who need it, and the information it can give them is only limited by the ingenuity of the programs they feed it. What started as a simple aid to reading menu cards has proved
good
to
old
be far more
verbatim
valuable
discs.
because of its ability to process and retrieve information.
What the computer has also proved are that soggy chips are no longer the order of the day, because we know from the printout exactly how many portions of chips are needed on each of the 30 wards. We can divide them into groups of 5 and cook the chips in batches.
We'll need to Google her to
exactly
see
the
what
right
she looks
amount
like now.
Just before they're needed. The key to the whole operation is this timetable. It's almost military in its precision, and it's adhered to rigorously. 12:58 is the time the next lot of things are due to leave for the wards.
It's like something a carry-on film, this, isn't it? Old dinner ladies. Still looks like total shit.
At this hospital, they've had the computer system running for just 2 years, and it's paid for itself over and over again. It's now being installed at hospitals all over the country, and that means savings of hundreds of thousands
the
of
mad
pounds
moments.
of taxpayers' money every year.
Obviously a tremendously valuable thing for any hospital to have. But one thing I want to know about computer memory.
Yep,
It's,
they missed that
you
trick.
put
Carry
stuff
on
into
computing.
storage and then you get stuff out. How does that really
That's
work, that business?
absolute
Basically,
plethora of
things called variables.
double entendres,
And all
that one,
the
isn't it?
variable really is the location in memory where your data is being stored. You don't have to know exactly whereabouts in memory it is located. The computer looks after that for you. All you have to remember is the variable that you've called it. And I think if you take a visit to memory, or in this case a bank vault, you get a rough idea of what I mean.
Well, man, that
In a
stack
bank
of
vault,
books wasn't
you
quite as
give
high
them
as it
your
looked.
name, they may look at a list and they'll come out with a number where your worldly wealth is located. In exactly the same sort of way, in BASIC, you give it a variable and you name it, and the computer will decide
When brown
where it's to be
cords were
located in
fashionable.
memory. And whenever you give it that
Can you
variable
still
name,
buy
it goes to
cords?
that location
Excuse
and
me.
pulls it out. It has no idea what's
Hell,
in
can
there,
you still
but it
buy
just knows
cords?
when you give it
Excuse
that
me.
variable name, it goes to that position in store and takes the contents out, or copies of them, and gives them to you.
So just like the bank vault, the bank don't know what you've got in your box, so the computer doesn't know what's in that memory. And you don't know where the computer's located that particular bit of information.
Children's television
until you want
workshop.
it, and the computer goes and finds it for you.
That's precisely correct. And like a bank, when you give your name, you always get what's in that box.
Right.
Actually, Ox, they
We're
do
gonna
look
give a
quite
little
similar.
database here of 4 of your friends and their birthdays, and we're calling these variables. Name one with this curious dollar sign, which I hate, which says it's a string.
What
In
does
other
he
words,
say he
alphabetic
hates?
and numeric, but not to be calculated on. But name one, and Jane is
I love the buffon
contents
hairdo,
of
Chris.
the memory location, which the computer knows as name one. So you say name one, you're going to get Jane.
Right.
Date 1 is another variable name, and the contents of that location is 23rd of February, and so on down the thing, with name 2 be Mike, date 2 being the 15th of June, and so on.
Fine. The next bit I'm sure I can work out for myself. I mean, that's asking the computer, when you run the program, to write up on the screen, enter keyword.
Right.
That's telling you, as the operator, to start.
Exactly.
Okay. And input item string.
Now you remember that because then the computer comes back to you with a little question mark, which is saying it's expecting some input from you. And when you type that in, it's going to know that as item. It's going to call that piece of information item.
Okay, so it's going to be 70 next, I guess. Am I right?
70. Now, I hope you're going to be able to work this one out. Well, what you've got in there now is item. So if the item
I
is
thought it was going to be
equal
one. It's going to be one of these, if something equals something, then...
So
Right.
was I the only one
So
out of you lot
if
that actually
item-
enjoyed all this stuff? I loved it.
dollar symbol is
Because it
equal
was a
to
computer.
name one.
Item
I've never seen a
string.
computer before, so anything at all, doesn't matter how bloody dull it was excellent.
Equals, I bet.
Equals name one.
Right.
You'll be pleased to know I think I've got the full set of Micro Live as well.
Then we want to
so
print
there's
red
plenty
birthday.
more of these
So
to come.
then print.
If anyone
paper.
actually
You have to say
is remotely
then,
interested.
because that's its
That's
language.
part of basic,
And print is part of its language.
right? Date one with the dollar.
Date one. And the dollar sign means it's a
a
string.
string.
Of numbers and letters, not something that's going to be calculated
Correct.
with. Right. Okay, then print date one strings, all right?
Now, obviously, we've got to do that.
Apparently
for
Chris
everyone.
Sale
We've
went on to
written this
become a
program for everyone
main
as a piece of
programmer
data,
on
but
the
we've got
Grand
a
Theft
little,
Auto 5.
program which we've written on.
Well, let's
Based
spend
on
a lot
his,
of time, otherwise we could be flogging
programming
through all the-
expertise.
Have
Yes,
to type them all
okay.
in at the moment. Now, what we're doing, in fact,
Now, load we've got
Load.
to do, haven't we?
dates, I've called the program, in quotation marks.
Start the tape,
Start the tape.
press the return
Press
button, and then it's searching. Right.
What we're doing effectively is very much the same sort of thing that was happening when you typed Space Shuttle.
Yes.
It went to seek in for the locations in Space Shuttle and bring that into the terminal. Let's
Evening,
just
Bill.
list 72
How are you, buddy?
and you'll see the what we've added to it. Those are the logic statements.
Well, I will be in touch
Connect
maybe
to
over the weekend
name
and
two.
we'll
If
get
item
something
is
tied
name
up.
2, then print date 2. If item is name 3, print date
If that's
3.
all right, just
name
let me
4,
know your
print date
availability.
4.
Right.
That'll
Let's see
be
if it works.
excellent.
Run. Now, I've forgotten all my friends' names that you made up.
Try Mike.
Jane was one of them.
Jane, that's right. 23rd of February.
Oh, we'll try another one. What was another name?
Mike.
You said, yeah.
Cunt. Yep.
15th of June. Very good.
That's not bad.
Works.
But it's ended rather abruptly, of
Yeah,
course. You could
lovely
enhance
keyboard.
the programme by putting their addresses on or putting what you sent them last year for their birthday as a present. And it's almost limitless what you could do to this database.
That's all feasible as a natural expansion.
Can you imagine what a Mac would make
microcomputer like
of
this? Have a
yes.
big home
like
database.
Alexa?
Totally feasible.
Right. Well, it's pretty clear then that given a few more lessons and a bit of practice, I could have access to quite a lot of stored information. But some of it could be beyond the four walls of my home computer.
I love his bouffant hairdo. That was pretty much what my hair looked like back in the
data,
80s, I have to
and
say.
much of it surprisingly easy to get at. Now, that accessibility is something people are beginning to worry seriously about, including journalist Rex Malik.
What we do with computers has always depended on the cost of storage. Well, the cost of storage has become
He's got a
trivial,
cigarette holder.
so that we can all hold almost any data we like on a computer.
Fantastic.
Does this mean that there's a kind of electronic Big Brother waiting out there in the future?
Did you know
Well,
host
yes,
the
I'm
Great
afraid
Egg
it
Race? I
probably
think he did.
is. For the technology is now beginning to place awful temptations in front of administrators. Do it fast, do it easily, do it cheap. What we need is law.
Ah,
custom,
brilliant.
and
Bring back
procedure.
the 80s.
We need to be able to control what is held on computers,
Control.
who has access to it, and how they can use it. And we need to be able to correct the record. What worries me is not that Big Brother will get it right, but that he'll get it wrong. The trouble is that people tend to believe what computers tell
Evening,
them.
Steve.
Well, they shouldn't. There's a more than 20-year-old rule in this game, and the sooner everybody memorizes it, the better. It's garbage in, garbage out.
Jesus. I'm sure I saw him in Schindler's List. Let's just enjoy the closing music. Yeah, you never saw him in Cyril Fletcher, eh? Cyril! Matt Boney, there you go, there's another bloody double entendre. Right, anyway, who's for another one? Who is for one more? I did say, I think I've called the video title. I think I've called the video title 3, 4 and 5, so well, I'm going to watch it anyway. I don't really care if anyone doesn't want to watch it. Right, share video file. Right, this is a computer program, season 1, episode 5.
For some time, people have been predicting the end of print.
Cyril.
No more books, no more newspapers. There was even a television program predicting just that. Remember Goodbye Gutenberg? But I wonder if I'm really going to be reading my local paper off a TV screen. Are computers really going to become the new media?
I don't know. No. Wow. Don't let us be Matt dressed up.
For the pioneers of the West who came from the cities to these hills in search of gold, life was rough, tough, and dangerous.
Evening, Doug. Who are you, mate?
Once a month, if you were lucky, the mail would arrive by mule
think
train.
Max had got
A
new
journey
sunglasses
of
or new
53
glasses.
days. By 1858, the stagecoach had penetrated deep into the West. and it cut the time for the 2,700-mile journey from San Francisco to St. Louis to a mere 23 days. 23 days that were described by the passengers as hell on wheels. But for special messages, there was a faster way. The news of Abraham Lincoln's election in 1860 was sent by Pony Express, a distance of 2,000 miles in a mere 6.5 days. But the era of the Pony Express was only to last 18 months before it too was replaced by a device that revolutionized communications. And the principles of that device have hardly changed over the last 150 years. The connection to Salt Lake City is late. Can you telegraph ahead and find out what's gone wrong? Obviously, a man of few words. But he does know the code that will allow me to send a message at the speed of light to anywhere connected to the end of that wire. It's a fairly simple code, no more than a series of ons and offs. And it doesn't really matter what it is, as long as the guy at the other end
Adventure game, no, but I remember about that is that bloody plant that used to vanish.
Da did dit da da did dit da da.
That means, you dummy, stage attack by Indians.
They obviously pushed the budget out with actors in this.
Tuesday week.
Tuesday.
Really? I might have never realised that, Doug. Excellent.
Da da da. Indians.
I wonder if I got that right. Da da dit da da dit dit da dit 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 da.
Well, today Mac could simply have made a phone call, but there are still many kinds of message which we'd obviously rather send in the form of the written word. Letters can take a long time, although not quite as long as in the American West. And telegrams depend on knowing exactly where the other person is going to be and sending it there. What we often need is the instant letter, which can reach somebody no matter where they are. And that's just what electronics now makes possible. This is Prestel, and we're connected just by a perfectly ordinary telephone line to the Prestel computer. And as soon as we dial it up and get the Prestel display on our screen, it's nice and friendly, welcome to Prestel, and immediately new messages for you, key star 930.
Obviously, make sure your mum and dad aren't on the phone.
Which is a hash, so let's do it. Star 930.
When I had CompuNet, my mum and dad would literally give me like 10 minutes before I had to unplug the bloody cable. And
it's to the computer program. That's us. Message at Buffalo Creek.
Again.
Stage attack by Indians. We'll get there when I can. And it's signed Mac. So let's key 1 to store it away. And now we can send a message to Mac. So we just have to dial up. If we're regular users, we know how to do it. Dial up star 934 hash. And we'll get a kind of message blank on the screen, which we can then fill in. Okay, so we have to type in the recipient's
Secret
account
life
number.
of
We'll
machines.
send it to Mac at the BBC's own personal Prestel number.
I've never heard of that, Kenny. Thanks for that.
1-999-19.
Yeah, every time I say Mac, I get a bit peckish.
And a hash. And it's to Mac. It recognises his number, so it'll get onto his
Evening,
Prestel
James.
machine wherever he is. And we send the
Thanks
message.
for joining us, buddy.
What should we say to Mac? Good luck.
You're
Mac.
fucked.
And we'll sign it.
There you go, 1982.
And press the hash button. And here we are. A kind
Was that
message.
40 years ago?
Key 1 to
Yeah.
send, 2 to cancel. So we key 1. Now, that's only the tip of the iceberg. Clear, hash, 3.
What computers that he's using? Is that
hash.
Acorn?
The
Yeah,
same
we
terminal
can just
that will
imagine,
connect
eh?
you with British Telecom's Prestel will also get you the North Hertfordshire District Council's computer, believe it or not. Because at the same time as calculating the rates and the council payroll, the same computer will also let you book a squash court or tell you what's happening at your local leisure centre. And you simply have to type in your user number, which in this case is 200 hash, and up comes quick as a flash from the North Hertfordshire.
Quick as a
District
flash.
Council. Activities and facilities, bookings, forthcomings, attractions, locations, membership, and so on. All I have to do is key one of those numbers to get the facility I want. But Computers have now gone beyond helping people communicate. They'll even talk to each other without any help from people at all. Here's Jill Neville.
Train timetables are often regarded as a bit of a
Here
joke.
we go.
Some people believing they're mere works of fiction.
What's her
But
name?
there's nothing
Jill something or
fictitious
another?
about the master timetable system installed by British Rail at Waterloo.
Let me see if I can find her. Get a picture of her now.
Nor is there any question of the ability of this computerized system to cope with the arrival or departure of a train every 30 seconds during peak hours and 180,000 passengers a day. Every day, the timetable's loaded into this computer as a reference, so that what actually happens and whether people really arrived on time can be analysed and compared with what should have happened. The comparison is made by the computers themselves without any human intervention. What happens is this. Each train has a scheduled running time and a stopping pattern. At various points along the track, its progress is automatically monitored and passed to this computer. When the train arrives at its destination, its record is examined and passed to the other computer to establish if it varied from its planned performance on the timetable. The train reporting system operates on an exception basis. That is, if the train's on time, the information's ignored by the computer. But if there's a deviation of more than a minute either way, the record of its performance is printed out for examination by the Divisional Control Office. If you like, it's a sort of dialogue between the computers.
Sadly can't find very much about her. Is that her
Get around
there?
it, will you?
What time is it supposed to get in?
11:40. Seems to be some problem at Clapham Junction. Now, obviously, Mac, when people talk to each other and communicate with each other, they use words and languages, and I guess that when computers are talking to each other or within themselves, they're not really using words and languages as we understand them.
No, they're not. They're communicating with electrical patterns, if you like. And this
Yeah,
is
I wonder if
small
they're actually
mainframe
taking any
computer, which
sound
will be
like that.
sending down data,
They come
characters,
across as
information,
mega
and control
nervous,
symbols
don't
to
they?
its storage unit. Here it's this storage unit, and that will be sending information back. It'll be sending it to this magnetic tape. That'll be sending it back. And, of course, it'll be receiving messages from this control console or a terminal, and, again, sending messages back. And you can attach up to 200 of these terminals onto this sort of a system, and we have another one here. Which
This terminal is connected with that computer?
Yes.
Is there any limit to the distance that can be away?
No,
from the...
no limit at all, providing you use a telephone network.
Right.
And I think we can see this very clearly in here. You can send it, if you remember, the information is stored in 8 ons and offs, or a byte.
Right.
And the keyboard here communicates with the actual computer itself through this band of wire. But effectively, it's sent in parallel, 8 at a time, into the computer. Now, you can't do that
Good evening,
over a
Shinobi.
telephone line. If that was in New York, you'd have to send them one after another. But you can think of them rather like soldiers marching down those telephone lines.
It doesn't require much imagination to see what the possibilities of this method of communication could be. This is British Aerospace's new Airbus, the 146. Its wiring systems have been developed, checked or modified throughout the design and construction stages by programmers working from their own homes. They're employed by F International, a computer systems company who supplies software to industry.
Anyone under 30 wouldn't
Employees
even know what that
supplied with a
noise was.
terminal connected via the telephone to the computer in Hatfield.
Christ, Ahuru, hasn't he?
Once the
Bloody aged very well,
telephone
has
has been
she?
established and the programmer has logged on by giving her password, programs can be run automatically. What's more, new ones can be written, mistakes from the previous day's work corrected, and the results stored on disk.
Fantastic.
It was the flexibility of the work that appealed to Leslie Smith. She could work from home in her own time and still fetch the children
Bloody hell,
from
one for
school
home
and go
back in
shopping without
1982.
being tied to an office or office hours.
Evening, Trevor. How are you, me old mucker?
When her programs are on the disk, they can be printed out on the line printer ready for checking by the plane's designers before becoming part of the wiring specifications and sent out onto the factory floor.
What the hell's he got stuck in his hair? Like fluff or something? This is number 5, yep. Go on then, Kenny, why did the phone make that little dinging sound when you put down the receiver? I always used to wonder.
Now, all Leslie's programming was going backwards and forwards down an ordinary telephone line. Now, that's quite a thought, because it opens up all sorts of possibilities. You may not think the average householder would have much need to access a database, but here's a database that everyone wants to access from time to time. It's a telephone directory.
Porn.
Now, in France, the post office wants to put the telephone directories for the whole country onto a computer and have a terminal in every home and office. Now, like the printed telephone directories, it'll be supplied free. Now, the first stage is already in use in parts of France, and we are, at this moment, connected to it. Now, we've dialed through, and we've got a summary, which gives you the facilities. It's even got an English language version and a Spanish language version. Well, the English language one is number 3, so let's press 3 and send and see what we get. Here we are. List of services. Let's go for the name first and see what choices they offer us. As with a lot of computers, you get a sort of multiple choice thing. You just have to press a number. Now, here we are, a little form to fill in.
Never
name.
actually watched
We're
war
going to look
games.
up Monsieur
Never
Martin
seen it in my
as an
life.
example. There we are. Martin is typed in.
Oh, thank you
Press
so
next.
much.
And
Thank
it's
you.
received it. For persons do not
Come to
indicate
say
the
hello.
first name, but only the name. But it wants to know the locality. It's asking you to put in the name of a place. So let's put in Rennes. Suppose I don't know how to spell Rennes. I shall just put R-E-N and send. And it even corrects my spelling. R-E-N-N-E-S is how it should be
There
spelled.
you go. Spell checker as well.
Now, there is at least 30 answers. The French directory says we don't want all 30 of them. Let's see if we can narrow it down a little bit. So let's put in an initial. His first name begins with S. So S and send. And up should come the directory. And there we are. There are 3 S. Martin. Serge Martin, Simone S. Martin, and so on. Now, in Germany, if you want to do your shopping or even pay all your bills instantly from home, Bildschirm text gives you that facility. If you know the telephone number, you can even reach it from here with an ordinary Press-Tel adapter, which is what we've done. Now, we've gone through the Bildschirm text network at this very moment, and now we're directly connected to the computer of a large German bank. And this is what an instant electronic bank statement looks like. Now, if we want to pay a bill, we just go to the appropriate page. And there it is. We can fill in the details of who we want to send the money to.
Yeah,
his
that
bank
looks
code
safe.
number,
Yep.
the postal code of the bank, and so on and so on. You can even fill in a little box here which says what the money
Yeah, I
is
couldn't
for.
find.
And here, of course, is the amount in Deutschmarks and
I couldn't
Pfennig.
find any pictures of her.
But
Was
you
it
don't have
Jill
to be
with
German.
2
In a
Gs?
few months' time, a similar facility will be available from one of the big 4 British banks on Press-Tel. Well, for those of us who work in offices, and that, believe it or not, is about 40% of the working population, these new electronic systems could mean very, very big changes. Well, let's take a look at a typical office of today. And what are the first things you see apart
There's
from
Mac
the man working?
fiddling his
It's the
expenses,
filing
no doubt.
cabinets. Now, what's going to happen to them, Mac?
Well, most of them are going to go, Chris, along with invoices and bills. Those are all going to be sent through by the computer.
What about our old office friend, the faithful typewriter? Are we going to say goodbye to that as well?
Well, they're largely being replaced today by word processing.
Sadly, there's absolutely nothing at all
Output with
on our
being able
Jill.
to connect it to the mainframe computer. So a secretary's job will really be enhanced as she's able to help her boss in understanding the sort of speed at which his business is changing.
Does that mean you're going to do away with paper altogether? Are the stationary doors finally going to close?
No, they're not, because people really do still like to read things on paper and not on screens. But there is one remorseless fact that's happening. The cost of telecommunications...
You know, the thing is, I remember the first office I ever worked in looked exactly like that.
So
and it was all, there was no computers.
Just going to disappear.
So as you said...
Well, I think the wages were done on a computer, and it was all,
but an awful
what was
lot
that? Carbon paper you
come
have
with
to
me
use.
A second, Mac. I want to show you something. This is a sort of a computer program speculative view, possibly, of the office of the future. We've got our computer terminal there, we've got our view data terminal here, and we've got, as you described it, the word processor with its printer connected to it. Now, is that the sort of layout of a future office, as you see it?
Well, not a layout. There'll still be a filing cabinet, so some of the paper. There will certainly be a printer there, printing out paper.
Yep, there'll be no paper. Paperless office in the year 2000, yeah. Who made up that bollocks?
Beautiful graphic output connected to Prestel, connected into their main computer. The one thing I'm not so sure about is whether we'll see, hopefully, people will find a replacement for that, which is the keyboard. And that's the real thing that needs the breakthrough. Inputting data with a keyboard
never going to happen, son.
It's prone to errors, and it takes a lot of training to do it quickly.
But whatever you say about keyboards as they are now, there's still always going to be a need for the manipulation of text. And is that the sort of job we can do on our microcomputer?
Yes, it is. A lot of people think of computers as handling complex, difficult mathematical calculations. But in fact, a lot of the time, they are used for manipulating data, characters, words, and letters, and so on. And we can show you some of the instructions
Star Trek,
that. You recognise that?
I'm beginning to recognise what looks like the beginning of a program. Yes, a computer program.
Well, the first one is probably new to you. It's CLS, which is a very nice way of saying clear screen. And it means when you run the program, it just wipes out whatever's on the screen, so you start off with a very clear screen.
And that's a bit of your standard basic...
That's right, yes.
...computer jargon. Well, I think I recognise the shape of the next one anyway. Print quotes, what is your word? That means that when you run the program, the first thing it'll do is print on the screen the words, what is your word, question mark.
Right,
Okay.
yes.
And input word string is telling the computer to expect a word, a string of letters making up a word.
Which in future you'll be able to refer to as word string, and it knows where to find out what you put in.
Okay.
Now, what we're going to do is...
I love Max here.
Write a little instruction.
Awesome. You never get anyone like that here like that anymore.
Word that you put in. So we can do that with the next instruction.
All right.
It's print.
Print.
The famous instruction.
Yes.
In quotations.
Yes.
The length of your word is...
Oops. Yes.
Now, and close the quotes.
Right.
Len word. Now, len is one of these abbreviations for length of word, and length will simply give us the length of, or the number of characters in your word. So we type length, but we don't type length, we type the abbreviation len, and then the name that we've given it, which is word string. So it's len space word string.
And that simply counts the number of letters in the word?
In the word, yes.
Right.
So it's very simple. If you hit return, then run it.
Who knew?
Oh, yes. Right. Well, Arthur. That's a word.
Right, carries return, or return.
Oh.
The lengthy word is 6, which is the number of characters in Arthur. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well,
bloody genius.
To a whole program. We're showing little bits of instructions. That was a single instruction, if you like, which did that. But I have got a little program here on a floppy. This is the little floppy
famous
disk.
floppy disk.
Yes, which we can put in here, close it up, and then we type.
Could Chris look any more interested?
Quotation marks.
Or any more disinterested?
Which is the program we've got on the floppy.
Yeah.
Carriage return. And there it is reading, and it's already in. So now what we're going to show you, if you run it, type run, and you'll see some text coming up now. There's the text.
Okay.
And you can see at the end here, it's all higgledy-piggledy. They're not lined
Oh, it's
up.
as if you typed it on a typewriter,
Yes.
and the left-hand margin is straight and the right-hand margin is always all crooked and indented. Yes,
Well, it's one of the jobs a sort of word processor would do, which would have to count these letters and then work out how to shorten them to make all these correct.
This is actually the sort of job that an expert compositor in a printing works would spend hours putting little slivers of metal in between the metal
Yes, that's
type
right.
blocks to get it straight.
Right. Now, we've written a program here that does that, and we simply hit a key, bing, there's it done.
Well,
Pick
it's
up axe,
obvious
kill
from what Matt's
Mac.
been saying that the computer provides an immensely powerful means for handling communications, but so much so that, as I said at the very beginning of the program, some people have prophesied a complete change in our way of life. For instance, people, it's been said, will no longer go to offices to work. They'll work from home.
That'll never
Shopping
happen.
and banking can be done from the comfort of your own terminal, right next to your own armchair. There'll be no more letter post, no more newspapers, no more libraries. But how realistic
Partly right.
are these predictions? Rex Malik.
Oh, he's giving up the
What you've just
fags,
seen
obviously.
tempts me to say, welcome to the electronic global village. Indeed, I'm also tempted to say, welcome to the electronic global office. But first, a word of warning. The electronic global village is different, but it's not all different. Computers are additional. They don't supplant what came before. They extend rather than constrict. I doubt an end to books and paper. I do see their role changing. I doubt the paperless office. I observe that paper is what people prefer to read. Show me an office that doesn't need paper, and you probably also show me an office that doesn't even really need people. If you'll excuse the pun, you could foresee there the people-less office. I doubt that. I think that's an illusion. The truth is that we need the office or something similar. We need somewhere to fight, to argue, to discuss, to compete. That's the nature of the beast, and that's what offices are for. All that electronics do is extend the scope of the action. So you have problems with the office next door?
Well spotted, Bill.
Just
Yeah.
wait. I can see you having similar problems in the 80s, but with offices in Tokyo, San Francisco, London, Melbourne. As I say, welcome to the electronic village.
Rex was on it. Wouldn't it be bloody awesome to go back in time and walk about that set? That'd be awesome. And there we have it. Excellent. Oops. Right, listen, guys, that is it. That's our weekly dose of the computer program. We'll be back. No, sorry, Matt. I'm up early tomorrow, mate. If you want to watch another one, you'll need to go and check on YouTube. I think they're all available. But if you want to see it with my witty add-ins, then you'll need to tune in next week. As always, it'll be, I don't know, what day, Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. Anyway, listen, guys, I hope you have a fantastic second half of the week, and I'll catch you again. Take care, guys. See you later.